you for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering France defeating USMNT 3-0 in the USMNT's return to the Olympic Games. We'll talk about the full chaos that occurred between Morocco and Argentina, as Morocco were able to win 2-1 and get the 3 points there. We'll talk about Barcelona and Hansi Flick and his comments, talking about a little bit of a shift of style of play that Barcelona are going to go through under him, and whether or not that'll lead for success or not for Barcelona. We'll discuss that. We'll talk about all the match day one matchups, other match day one results of the 2024 Olympic soccer. And then make sure you stick around for the end of the show, where I'll be giving you my thoughts on some of the top headlines going on in the football world. Before we start off, I'd like to ask that you like and follow the show. Also, we get a number of questions that come in during the show. So to ensure that your questions get read on the air, I ask that you please use the tips and donations link at GSMCpodcast.net with your questions. This puts your questions at the top of the list so that I can see it. And it also really helps grow the show. So again, the link is GSMCpodcast.net. We have to start off with France defeating the USMNT 3-0 and the USMNT's return to the Olympic Games. It was a very interesting game. Very interesting game. You gotta say, it's hard to analyze the game because, to be honest, if you talk about the run of play, the scoreline was nowhere near deserving as the performance. Now, the result for the USMNT is horrible. It's horrible. Losing the game, not only losing the game, but losing it 3-0, puts you a little bit behind in goal differential. It basically puts you a point that you're chasing 6 points in these games against New Zealand and Guinea. You have no room to slip up. And that's a difficult place to find yourself in. Obviously, I still think the U.S. has more about them than New Zealand and Guinea. But putting yourself in a position that you need 6 points in those two games is not the most comfortable position that the U.S. could be in, to say the least. And it's frustrating, especially when you look at the performance today. Now, the performance I thought was decent. It's decent. You look at the expected goals, and the U.S. has doubled the expected goals of France in terms of the expected goals, the advanced stats, and it shows that France, they weren't able to create much. They weren't able to create much. Going forward, there are no clear-cut chances. Their clear-cut opportunities were. They didn't have clear-cut opportunities. They didn't really create much. The goal that they scored with Lacazette, it's kind of a half chance. He finds a little bit of space and he whoops it in or shoots it, and it bounces 3 times. And I have to say, Schulte, I keep saying his name wrong, but Schulte, he must do better. He must do better. The ball bounces multiple times. Don't think he has much. He doesn't get enough of a spring diving for the ball. He doesn't stretch fast enough. He doesn't stretch wide enough. Maybe his near post. Maybe he was a little bit positioned closer to the near post than he should have been. And overall, it was a bad goal to let in. Really bad goal to let in. He shouldn't be getting beat from there with that shot that had no real pace on it. And then the thing is though, they were able to get that goal, France, and then it was still the U.S. that had the next few clear opportunities. They created multiple opportunities putting the ball in. They had one header that was a very good save from Restis, and then they had another opportunity in which Tolkien, the left back, just fluffs his lines, misfires a header. Instead of attacking the ball, he kind of lets the ball hit his head, and it hits the post from point blank range into the 6-yard box. In that type of moments, you have to do better. And in moments that the U.S. doesn't take advantage of, France did. And look, that Lacazette ball goes in. But by the way, a few minutes beforehand, Giorgio Mihailovic had an opportunity from long range where he struck the crossbar, an absolutely brilliant shot. That was probably the only thing he did all game. I thought he was a shock, a disgrace. You know, if you're an overage player at these Olympic Games, you're expected to be the people that, you know, are to be relied upon at these Olympic Games. You're supposed to be relied upon. You're supposed to be the warriors carrying the team. I have to say, Miles Robinson Miles Robinson and especially Mihailovic, they just let them down. Mihailovic, he didn't look comfortable. I mean, anytime he got on the ball, you know, he didn't progress the ball like I expected him to do as a, you know, attack-minded midfielder. His touch was off. He lost the ball many times. Didn't really put in good set pieces whenever he was on the set pieces. He didn't put in good service. He was overall useless. One of the worst players on the pitch. Maybe the worst player for the U.S. besides Schultz. And then Miles Robinson, you know, looked a little sloppy in the first half. Lost the ball in a bad area. The corner kick, you know, completely loses his man. Trips over. I don't know if he was tripped over the player, but just completely loses sight of Loic Balde, who gets a free header on it. Just looked like a practice goal. And yeah, I mean, you cannot be making those mistakes if you're the overage player. The Miles Robinson one, maybe I'm being a little bit harsh, and I think as the tournament goes on, he'll get more comfortable playing in there with Walker Zimmerman. But this Georgia Mihailovic experience, he's just not good enough. He's not good enough. There was better players. There was better players available. I would have preferred to have Kate Cowell instead of him. Even if it's not like for like, I would have preferred to have Kate Cowell over him, who's actually age eligible. And I would also prefer Diego Luna playing the position that he was playing. Now, I think he has more potential, you know. And also, you know, we'll talk about the USMNT, correct? No, we're talking about this Olympic game. He was an overage player. What a waste of an overage player. You know, you could have brought in the likes of so many more. Even if you wanted to bring in someone creative, you could have had better options as a creative midfielder. Horrible choice in my opinion. And I don't know. I mean, I don't want to throw things out there because obviously, you know, I don't know this for sure. But I have to be honest. I don't know. I can't see what Mitrovic was thinking, which was the U23 coach, in bringing Mihailovic. I don't understand. Was there pressure from Berhalter when he was still the manager? Because he kind of oversaw this Olympic roster at the same time. Was it that? I don't know. Was it maybe Mihailovic? You know, maybe it's some sort of nepotism in the fact that, you know, Mitrovic is a Serbian. Mihailovic is of Serbian descent, maybe. I don't want to throw accusations out there. Obviously, I think this is a crazy thing to do. But that's just kind of where my mind is going, because it makes absolutely no sense how Mihailovic can get into this team. He's not good enough at this level. He is an overage player that's weighing this team back, that's holding them back in this opening game. He was awful. And look, you know, it's crazy. If he hits that goal, that happens like minutes before Lacazette's goal. He hits that goal, it's a completely different game, and the momentum's going to the U.S. But it doesn't. Even if he scores that goal, for me, it won't change the performance. I'll still be here saying he wasn't good enough. You know, because he was not good enough. He was not good enough. Just like how when Bellingham had that magical bicycle kick against Slovakia, I came in here the next day or the next morning, and I was like, he was not good enough. He was awful the entire game, and the bicycle kick doesn't mask over it. Even if we were to score that goal, it doesn't mask over how bad he was this game. He's been awful. He should not be in the starting lineup next game. There has to be a better option, a better attacking talent option off the bench. I'm not much familiar with the guys on the bench of this team, but there has to be a team that gives you a little bit more going forward. Someone who actually try a ball going forward, or someone who's not afraid of the moment, who's able to control the ball and has a good touch. I thought Duncan Maguire, there was a few times he was able to connect it, but, you know, there is a little bit of ceiling, you know, with him in terms of the quality he has. I was surprised in the fact that he had a little bit more pace than what I, originally thought. And it gave them a little bit of a threat, you know, to go in behind just a little bit. Couldn't really formulate anything, but there was the pace there. His work rate was good, as expected. His work rate is always good, but yeah, he's he has a clear ceiling, and another potential overage player could have been a striker. That would have been a perfect overage player if we couldn't get the likes of Ricardo Pepi to the squad. We could have done, since we couldn't get the likes of Ricardo Pepi, why not go for an overage player, yeah, it is what it is. Frustrating day at the office. Look, the U.S., in terms of general play, they played really, really well. But France, they had the quality and they took advantage of it in moments in which the U.S. did not. The U.S. in their moments, they just didn't have that, quality to get into the back of the net. While the likes of Lacazette, Olise, you give them those half window of opportunities, they have the quality to make you pay, and they made the U.S. pay, while the U.S. couldn't make France pay, despite the chances that U.S. created in the performance that they put out there. France, just had overall better quality, and this kind of similar to the way France beats even the senior national team plays, in the fact that maybe in terms of the general play, they don't dominate the game like they expected to, but they take advantage of moments just based on the quality that the team has. And that's kind of what we've seen again here, which is weird because this is a completely different manager, completely different set of players, but they kind of done it similar to how Deschamps wants to play for France. And Deschamps would be watching this game, which I'm sure he will be, really, really proud, saying that, saying this is exactly my kind of win, But yeah, I thought, Thierry Henry, I thought he could have had this team playing much better. I think the quality won this game. I don't think they outcoached the U.S. or anything. I think it was quality. I think Thierry Henry's performance in this game, and the fact that we didn't see a loose style of play, good pattern of play, attack dominating game. We saw a team win on moments. In fact, we saw a France team that was vulnerable sometimes to the U.S. Now, it was good to win the game. That's the most important thing in the opening game. But they didn't really, they won 3-0, but did they really put out a message of, yeah, we're here to dominate the tournament? No. As I said, for U.S. had more than double expected goals over France. I mean, that's saying a lot. More than double, And yeah, now, the response is the most important thing for the U.S., Now, losing 3-0 is really, really bad because of goal differential and all that, and it puts you in a little bit of a, tight hold here. But at the end of the day, more likely than not, you beat New Zealand and you beat Guinea, you're getting to the round of 16 or the quarterfinals, and they have the quality. They're better teams than New Zealand and Guinea. They're better teams than them. The way that they perform today, they are better than whatever New Zealand and Guinea could put up. New Zealand and Guinea, they're all both decent sides. I saw them play earlier today as well, but the U.S. just has more quality than them. It's just whether or not the U.S. can get the ball into the back of the net. And if the U.S. could get the ball in the back of the net, they could get an early goal in that New Zealand game. I think it can break the game. But yeah, it's just the response. They have to put this game behind them. They can't dwell on this for too long. The focus has to go on New Zealand, and it must be 3 points no matter what. That's at the end of the day. That has to be the mentality. If they're able to put this game behind them, I still think they will get out of the group because they have the quality to get out of the group, and they're the best team in this group besides France. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll discuss the full chaos that happened between Morocco and Argentina as Morocco win 2-1.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
before the break, before the break, before the break, we talked about France defeating the USMNT 3-0 and the USMNT's return to the Olympics. We move on to react to the full chaos between Morocco and Argentina. As Morocco win 2-1. No. Before the break, we talked about France defeating the USMNT 3-0. Now we discussed the full chaos between Morocco and Argentina, as Morocco were able to win 2-1. And wow, where to start here? I mean, not the best look for the Olympics for Olympic soccer, especially on the opening day. This is not what you wanted to see, these sort of scenes. But from a neutral point of view, from an entertainment factor, wow, we got some amazing entertainment. And we're definitely, in my opinion, this is definitely the start of a rivalry brewing here at these Olympic Games between France and Argentina. It goes back to the 2022 World Cup where Argentina beat France. You see the what happened this summer with Enzo Fernandez, the discriminatory chants on the bus. Let's say these games, what happened at these games, the way that they were treated by the fans in the crowd. A lot of them were Moroccan, but these are this is in a French stadium. The way that the Argentinians were complaining about how the Olympics was, the Argentinian fans, saying some, negative things about France and all that. You even see in the rugby, it's a little bit rivalry growing between the two. Argentina are one of the more teams that can threaten France for winning the gold medals in rugby sevens. So there's definitely a rivalry brewing there between France and Argentina. But this game was not between France and Argentina. We're gonna get France and Argentina at these Olympic Games, soccer-wise. I'm sure we're gonna get it. Hopefully, Argentina losing this game, we might get this quicker rather than later. We might get this as soon as the quarterfinals. That'll be the funny thing with Argentina losing this game. But Argentina, they lost this game, and it was I don't know where to start. I don't know if we should start from the beginning or we should start from the end, because okay. So Morocco, obviously, they're playing with the likes of Hakim Ziyech. He's representing them, but Hakim Ziyech played a good game today, right? But the star of the show today happened to be their striker, Rahimi. I might be saying it wrong. Let me just go see how it's spelled exactly. Sofiane Rahimi, their striker, who are able to back 2 goals. They also have the likes of Richardson, Amir Richardson, starting in midfield for them. Amir Richardson was actually a dual national, American, Moroccan, also French. He could represent any of those teams. He decided to represent Morocco. He's the son of Michael Ray, actually. Michael Ray, former NBA player. He's the son of Michael Ray Richardson, former NBA player. And then so he had the chance to represent U.S. there. His mom is a French Moroccan, who's from France, and he decided to represent the Moroccan national team and played for them. So that's a great opportunity for him to be on this big stage at these Olympic Games. But yeah, overall interesting game. Morocco were able to take the lead. I think Morocco, they controlled possession more within that first half. They really were the more progressive team in terms of they were comfortable on the ball. They were getting forward. They were choosing their moments to attack Argentina. They were slowly growing themselves into the game. And then Morocco were able to get the goal right before halftime, kind of a gut punch to Argentina. And then on top of that gut punch in the second half, to start off the second half, Morocco were able to win a penalty early on, kind of a tic-tac penalty in the fact that it was a slight push to the back. Some of the penalty calls at these Olympic Games have been disgraceful. I mean, the officiating has not been to the level that it needs to be. Some penalty calls have been just completely horrible. And yeah, they gave a penalty for a tic-tac push. And once they called it on the field, it was hard to see VAR overrule it. VAR didn't overrule it. And then Sofiane Rahimi was able to get that second goal. And then Argentina, they would slowly get themselves into the game. They started attacking more. They started playing more high intensity. They ended up getting Thiago Alameda was able to equalize the game. And as Argentina were pushing on, you know, there was a lot of time wasting going on from the Moroccans, throwing, time wasting, getting down injured on the field, time wasting, all that. You remember at these European Championships, they took out those long numbers of stoppage time. They eliminated those for the European Championship, but FIFA still has that part of it. You know, they want to stop this time wasting. They took it out in FIFA, but they took it out in UEFA, but FIFA still has it. So at these Olympic Games, we saw those, we've been seeing the 9 minutes to 10 minute added ons. And in this game, we had 15 minutes just because of all the time wasting coming from Morocco. And with 90 plus, I believe it was 16 minutes, it seemed like Argentina were able to get an equalizer off a triple ricochet. I forgot who it was. I believe it was Christian Medina, who was able to get that. Or was it Medina or Simeone, Diego Simeone's son? Yeah, it was Medina. No, Simeone was able to get the goal in the 6th. It wasn't Alameda that scored the goal in the 68th minute. It was Giuliano Simeone, Diego Simeone's son, who was able to get that goal in the 68th minute. And then Christian Medina, 96th minute, was able to get the equalizer. Immediately after the equalizer, I heard a whistle while watching it, and I saw players walking off the thing. The Argentinian players getting rushed because there was there was a few fans storming the field. There was firecrackers getting thrown on the field. We saw an Argentinian player kind of jump and react. I just thought, fans are going wild. Game is over. They're trying to rush the Argentinian players into safety. And I thought game is over, and I'm moving on to the next. I'm watching my rugby on my iPad, and then I'm switching the channels to the next soccer games because, it's quick turnaround in these Olympic games in terms of soccer. And I'm moving on to the next events, and I'm focusing. And then during one of the commercial breaks during my rugby, because I was watching it on the main network that was going on, I think it was the main network going on, covering the Olympics in America, they cut to, during commercial break, they cut to the scenes of the Moroccan Argentina game. This is almost 1 hour 40 minutes, 2 hours later, and they're going back to the scene, and then the referees has bring the players back onto the pitch. It's a completely empty stadium. All the fans are cleared out, and they're doing a VAR review of the goal, and they do the VAR review of the goal, and they deem that it's offsides, and they add another 3 minutes, which I don't understand because it was 90 plus 16th minute when that goal happened. I believe. If there was no fan storming the field and none of those disruptions, I think the referee would have blown it right on that goal kick. But for some reason, I guess Argentina, maybe they were like doing like some compassion thing, because that would have been unjust to Argentina. You go into the locker room 2-2, and now you come out 2 hours later and make it 1-1. Let's just give them a few minutes. But look, it's a weird situation. To say the least. Now, number one, Argentina, they weren't robbed. You can't argue with the technology. It was offsides. Now, they go into the locker room 2-2, and you could say it's unfair and all that, but they weren't robbed. It was offsides. Offsides. You can't argue with technology. They can go argue with themselves. They can't argue with technology. Now, this being a circus and all that Javier Mascherano was saying and talking about what happened yesterday with, robbers and all that. Okay, yeah, that's necessary all that. But the Argentina weren't robbed. They can say unbelievable. Messi can tweet out unbelievable, and Rodrigo can tweet out whatever. But Rodrigo de Paul. But at the end of the day, they weren't robbed. Now the way they handled the situation, waiting 1 hour 40 minutes to do this VAR check, to having all the fans leave and all that. The way that they did that could have been handled a lot better, yes, but in terms of the actual thing, I mean, it was justice. It really was. It was justice. It was offsides. You can't argue with technology. But yeah, just an hour 40 minutes is absolutely crazy, and yeah, I could understand the frustration with Argentina, yes, but at the end of the day, it was justice. It was justice, and Morocco were deserved winners of the game. I thought Morocco played better than Argentina. I think Argentina were a little slow in possession, and they waited until a little bit too late to turn it on. And look, you get paid against quality teams when you do that. And Morocco, they were quality. They were quality. You saw flick-ons. You saw good touch. You saw technical ability. You saw leadership from Hakimi. It's just they were really, really good. So, yeah. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll talk about Hansi Flick going to Barcelona. Talk about the shift that we might see in Barcelona's style of play.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Before the break, we reacted to the full chaos between Morocco and Argentina, as Morocco are able to win 2-1. We move on to talk about this more direct approach from Hansi Flick and whether or not it can lead to success for Barcelona at this summer's Olympic Games for this following season. Barcelona, historically they've been a tiki-taka team, possession-oriented style of play, really rely on the technical ability of teams, really rely on creativity to create their opportunities rather than just old-fashioned, the German style of pressing high up the field and winning it. That's not normally been their game. Yes, they press up high and they win the ball high and they create off that, but most of the time, most of the chances creation is through ball possession, through playing with the ball, dominating possession, and really being able to have players that are tidy and creative and that can break down teams. Hansi Flick wants a little bit more of a direct style. You remember him watching him with Bayern Munich. This was a team that pressed up all the way up, constant pressure, high up the field. As soon as they lost the ball, it was immediate press. The back line was almost at the halfway line. They relied on players running in behind with their pace, like Alphonso Davies and Kingsley Coman and Serge Gnabry. They were very, very direct in the way that their wingers directly attacked their fullbacks and open up space by other teammates by beating on man's one-on-one. They didn't really pass the ball around, pass the ball to death like Barcelona did. They were very, very direct, and that's how they were able to get their success. And for me, that's a brilliant style, and that's been the style that's been, rather more successful over the past few seasons. That sort of style of play. You see what Jurgen Klopp has been able to do with Liverpool. That success has been really been dominant and has been successful at different sort of clubs, for Premier League clubs, for Bundesliga clubs. So, I don't see why Hansi Flick can go into Barcelona and won't be successful there. The quality of player is there, it's not the quality that Real Madrid has necessarily, but there's still some quality in that Barcelona team. They have Lamine Yamal, who was able to show his directness at these European Championship. Now, if he's able to get Nico Williams, that is absolutely beautiful, because you got those two wingers that are direct, that can take on opponents, but also has the technical ability that's required to play at Barcelona. Now, that defensively, I do question whether this defense can defend in that high manner that Hansi Flick wants to play. If they can defend that high up, playing almost at midfield, I don't know. It'll be something that remains to be seen. It's something I need to see in general. And then especially there's a little bit of a question at right back right now. So I'm interested to see what they do there. That's going to be fascinating to watch. But no, Hansi Flick, when he was talking about this, he talked about how he respects the club's possession-oriented passing style, but he wants to be more direct, and his approach is focused on getting the ball into the back of the net. Barcelona appointed the former Bayern Munich, former German and Bayern Munich manager on a 2-year contract after they sacked Xavi. This was a Barcelona team that won trophyless last season, which is not acceptable for Barcelona, but it was also Barcelona. We know they're not at the level of, previous Barcelonas. They're in a bit of a financial hold here. That's just the truth, and that's what Xavi got in trouble for, actually, talking about that financial issue. Obviously, Hansi Flick is not going to make that same sort of mistake. But it's but they're in a bit of a financial issue, and they can't spend the money that Real Madrid can with they just don't have that ability right now to compete with them financially. Especially, I think, Real Madrid, they were the first team ever to announce a $1 billion revenue intake. That's just crazy. But yeah, speaking about the club, Hansi Flick said, "Here the tradition is to play with passing, but I also want them to go straight to the goal. They should focus a bit more on scoring. I don't think my style has any major changes. I'm looking for the same thing, to press high up, but to play in the opponent's midfield. But at the end of the day, everything is about winning games." He says they should focus a bit more on scoring. I don't think my style has any major changes. I disagree, because Barcelona, yes, in the past, they did still press high, and they suffocated teams, and they won the ball high up. But when they win the ball high up, it wasn't a go at the goal, and their main form of creation. The difference is, number one, I think the intensity of press amongst this team and amongst what Hansi Flick wants to do is different. I think there's more higher intensity, more reliant on pressing to create. I think with Barcelona in the past, they had like a measured approach of pressing. I think with Hansi Flick, with how high that they play, there's no measured approach. As soon as you lose the ball, you go attack them 99 miles per hour and win that ball back right away. And then the difference between previous Barcelonas, and what Hansi Flick is going to try to do with Barcelona this season is, when you win the ball back, you don't look to move the ball and start trying to break them down again and trying to create again. Barcelona teams in the past, they'd press up high, they'd win the ball, and then they would reset and try to break them down again and use the quality that they have to try to break them down. With the manager like Hansi Flick and the way that he wants to do it, you win the ball high up, and then you're one pass away. You make that one pass straight going to goal, and you get that good chance. That's their form of creation. Barcelona, they didn't rely on a press to create for them. Hansi Flick at Barcelona, he's gonna rely on this press to create the opportunities for them. As soon as they win the ball high up, they're gonna try to play the ball in behind to Lewandowski, or they're gonna try to swing it out to Lamine Yamal or Nico Williams to work one-on-one and to get a shot off in a great chance. And I think, look, I was talking to Manny when he was on the show a few weeks ago, or now it's been a few months or so. Barcelona fan, talking about how this Barcelona style of play, I think this new shift of style of play is going to be good for Barcelona, because I think what they're doing is getting a little bit outdated. And it was interesting because now you see the way Spain did. Spain won the European Championship, and they added that a little bit element of verticality. I think if Barcelona can adopt what Spain did, still rely on your pure ability to control the ball and, have good quality technical players that can play the Johan Cruyff game of pass the ball around to death and being able to control possession, but also have that added element of being able to play vertical and not having to, sometimes make it easy for yourself to break them down. It doesn't have to be a 100 passes, pass the ball into the back of the net. Sometimes take the defender on one-on-one and shoot the ball and press the ball up high and don't look back or sideways for the easy ball and try to play that, dangerous, risky ball in behind. I think if they can find that correct balance, I think this can make this Barcelona team deadly. Now, obviously, they're still in that financial hole, and if they don't have the players, they don't have right now. They don't have a number 6. They don't have a number 6. If they bring in Dani Olmo, which they're rumored to do, that doesn't solve their issue of number 6. In fact, you put Frenkie de Jong in a position that he's generally not his best at. He can play that position, but he's not. You still need high quality players for this to make it work. And I think they have something that they're building. Frenkie de Jong, Lamine Yamal, Gundogan. If they're able to get in the likes of Nico Williams, Ronald Araujo, there's some brilliant players in the side. Don't get me wrong, but to take that next step, I think they're gonna have to. To take that next step, I think they're gonna have to get more players in. And get that, get a replacement for Sergio Busquets. I don't think they've still been able to replace him. Get a replacement for Sergio Busquets. Even later down the stretch of his career, even though he was a little bit over the line, they still needed him to play because he was the only player that could play that position. I think they've been long overdue for that Sergio Busquets replacement, and I think it needs to come for them if they really want to compete with Real Madrid. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll analyze all of the match day 1 results of these Olympic soccer men's match day 1.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Before the break, we talked about this more direct approach from Hansi Flick and whether or not that will lead to success for Barcelona. We move on to talk about all the match day 1 results of these Olympic soccer tournament. Interesting results out there. Where should we start off from? So look, obviously we can start off from the 2 main ones. We talked about them earlier today, but Morocco were able to defeat Argentina 2-1. Argentina thought that they got the draw, but an hour-long VAR check that went the wrong way, that overruled that goal for being offsides by a little bit, has Argentina lose that game 2-1 to Morocco. And I think Julian Alvarez didn't really show up in this game. He didn't create many opportunities, didn't have much for himself, didn't create much. Argentina, they were able in the last half hour when they were down 2-0 to start, increasing how fast that they were playing. They were moving the ball around, but they just couldn't overcome the 2-goal lead with the VAR check going the other way. And now Morocco, who are captained by Achraf Hakimi, were able to get an opening win that puts themselves in a perfect position going forward. Now, Morocco and Argentina, they'll still be favorites to get out of the group. Argentina will still be favorites to get out of the group over Iraq or Ukraine. But it'll be a little bit more difficult for Argentina in the fact that you never want to start off with a loss. Argentina take on I forgot who Argentina take on actually next game. Which you can check right here. Argentina take on Iraq, so crucial game for Argentina as they take on Iraq, while who are coming off the win, and then Ukraine take on Morocco. Then we talk about the another big game was the France-United States game. The United States couldn't take advantage of its chances. Lacazette, Olise, and Luc Balde took opportunity of theirs, and the U.S. lost, and now the U.S. need basically to win their next two games to advance to the next round, starting with New Zealand next week. France will take on Guinea, who's coming off of a loss. And Mali took on Israel, finished 1-1. It was very, very physical, chippy affair between the two teams. If you want to know the context, there was a little bit of protest going on. Obviously, Israel, with the political issues going on there with Palestine, and then Mali happened to be a predominantly Muslim country. It was bound to be a little bit of chippiness there. Mali is appearing in their first Olympic competition in soccer since 2004, and this is the first for Israel since 1976. And the first half was scoreless, few opportunities for both sides, some quality chances, but both couldn't take advantage. And then Israel was able to open up with a really, really devastating own goal by Hamidou Diallo. When you look at, he kind of poked the ball into the back of the net. The ball, he looked like he was a striker in that moment. It was just really a bad look. But Mali were able to have a great response. They created multiple opportunities, and they found themselves an equalizer few minutes shortly with a great header by Chekna Doumbia. And honestly, Mali had more of the better chances. Mali looked more lively, but Israel were able to escape with the point, and it was a very important point to escape with. When you look at what happened in the other game of that group, and that happened to be Japan taking on Paraguay. Japan were able to defeat Paraguay 5-0. We always know Japan are strong at these Olympic Games for soccer-wise. That's just their culture. They take it seriously. Despite the fact that they have no overage players onto this team, they were open their Olympic campaign by thrashing Paraguay 5-0. You got braces from Shunsuke Mito and Shota Fujio. And Japan only had one goal in that first half, though. They were able to get a red card. A red card after VAR intervened in there, which it was difficult to see at first, but that ankle was high. A little unlucky in the fact that he's trying to play the ball and he's just really, really late and really clumsy, but it is dangerous play. It's not intentional, but it is dangerous play. And Japan, they were able to only Japan, they took advantage of that red card, and Paraguay, they just couldn't get near the ball, and so many chances created by Japan. Paraguay just looked completely opened, and Japan and Japan, with the opportunities they created, they were just clinical with all their opportunities, and Paraguay had no answer for it. Now Japan puts themselves on top of Group 3, and this is with great goal differential, and basically they put themselves in a position now. They win any of these two final games, they're almost a lock to get through. And now Paraguay has a massive fight to get out of the group, and it'll be difficult with the -5 goal differential. But Israel and Mali finishing with 1 point apiece, maybe gives them a little bit of a landline. Who knows? Let's check out the next games for these two teams. Mali take on Japan. That'll be a very good game. While Paraguay take on Israel. We're excited to see that. Uzbekistan took on Spain. Spain are coming off winning the European Championship, and there's a few players in this team that were part of that European Championship team. Spain, they're entering these Olympic Games, with the chance to continue on what they did at the last Olympic Games and winning the silver medal. High expectations for them with taking the likes of Pau Cubarsí, Eric Garcia, Fernin, the Barcelona trio, and they started off with a 2-1 victory, an important victory, but it wasn't an easy victory for Spain. Uzbekistan's they were able to go up and down with Spain, and they did not play with. They played with a sense of courage, despite Spain being a much better team in terms of talent and technical ability. But Spain, they were able to take advantage on a set piece opportunity with Marc Pubil scoring off a free kick on an early chance. But then Uzbekistan was able to equalize from the penalty mark. But Spain, they were able to find the winner through one of their overage players, and Sergio Gomez. Not a last minute winner or anything, but a go ahead goal later on in the second half. And then they were able to survive in that game, and this puts Spain in a great position to also advance from Group Z. Uzbekistan will go on to take on Egypt, and Spain will take on Dominican Republic. Speaking of those two teams, Egypt and Dominican Republic, they played out 0-0 draw. Egypt being led by Mohamed El Nene, while Dominican Republic is led by Julian Firpo. And the game was a 0-0 draw in the game. Both sides, they were, a little bit low, a little bit more boring game. Both of those teams didn't do much to really go and win it. Both teams didn't create much opportunities. A point with fair for both teams, and now both teams find themselves where a win in their next game will put themselves in a comfortable position to move on, entering those final games for them. Guinea taking on New Zealand, the two teams other than the away from the U.S. New Zealand, Guinea, they played some great football. Had a great attack, created a lot of opportunities, or they just lacked that real quality. They created a lot. They had energy, they had athleticism, but in terms of the lacking cutting edge in the final third and real quality in the final third, I think New Zealand just had a little bit more clinical nature about them. I think Guinea, they just weren't tidy enough and weren't just clean enough in the final third, even though they created a lot of opportunities or they had a lot of break moments. Guinea's New Zealand's goalkeeper Alex Paulson had to show up. 5 shots on goal in the first half, but they couldn't break them down in the first half. New Zealand were able to be clinical, take advantage of an early opportunity, but in the 72nd minute, Amadou Diawara was able to equalize for Guinea after a goal was shortly chopped off a few minutes before by VAR for Guinea. They were still able to get another equalizer, and then 4 minutes later, New Zealand's Ben Weni was able to take the lead back with a top 90, top left corner shot, go-ahead goal. Now New Zealand go on to take on the U.S., which is going to be a big game for both of those teams. And then Guinea take on the host France, who are coming off of a win. New Zealand, they put themselves in a position now that they don't necessarily have to go for the win against the U.S. And then Guinea, they face a difficult road now, losing to this game. They have to go into that France game, going for that result. Last game was Iraq and Ukraine. It's been, the last time Iraq was able to get a win at the Olympic Games was the 2004 Sydney Olympics, or 2004 Athens Olympics. I believe it was when they beat Portugal. Ronaldo's Portugal. Ronaldo's playing in that Olympics. But yeah, Iraq was able to come from behind after being down 1-0 to defeat Ukraine 2-1 in Lyon. In the first half, there was not much going on, more of a defensive game. But then wasn't much going on. But in the 75th minute, Ali Jassim was able to get a goal to take the lead. Ukraine took the lead early in the second half with Valentin Rubchineski. Iraq was able to equalize not that long after, and then eventually get the winner with Ali Jassim in the 75th minute. They were able to hold on, defend really well, and now Iraq go on to take on Argentina, which Argentina is coming in a must-win sort of situation, while Ukraine are also going into that Morocco game needing a win more likely than not, going up against Morocco, who are coming off a win. So those are going to be some fabulous games as well. We're going to get an exciting match day too. We really are. We're going to have some really big games and really big moments for these teams to rise up. Show break here coming up. When we come back, we'll discuss some of the top headlines going on in the soccer world. Before the break, we discussed some of the matchday 1 results of the 2024 Olympic soccer. We move on to react to some of the top soccer headlines going on in the soccer world. First of all, I'll say this real quick. Liga MX, they were able to destroy MLS All-Stars. Liga MX All-Stars were able to destroy MLS All-Stars 4-1. I don't want to dwell too much on it, but just want to say MLS is overrated, and they need to. MLS fans are really, really annoying and need to understand the quality of the league. And we could tell, looking at Georgia Mihailovic's performance, MLS does not have as much to provide for the U.S. men's national team as they think they do. MLS is a league that's growing, don't get me wrong, but this is not some league that can compete with the European leagues. It's far from it. They're not even to the level of the Saudi league at this point right now. So let's just be realistic and I don't want to go too much on this, but let's be realistic. Chelsea, they needed a late goal to get a draw with Wrexham United. Leslie Uguchukwu was able to get an 82nd minute equalizer that got a 2-2 draw for Chelsea against Wrexham. This happened to be Enzo Maresca's first game as Chelsea head coach. So yeah, there was that. Canada coaches are kicked out of the Olympics. Canada women's national team, as some of their assistant coaches and their analysts are kicked out of the Olympics due to some issues with New Zealand, saying they had their training session disrupted because of a drone that was being flown by one of the staff members of the Canadian soccer team. According to the Canadian Olympic Committee, head coach Bev Priestman head coach Bev Priestman has also removed herself from coaching the team against New Zealand in Group A on Thursday. Joseph Lombardi, this is what the CLC said. Joseph Lombardi, an unaccredited analyst with Canada Soccer, is being removed from the Canadian Olympic team and will be sent home immediately. Jasmine Mander, an assistant coach to whom Mr. Lombardi reports to, is being removed from the Canadian Olympic team and will be sent home immediately. Priestman apologized for the offense. On behalf of our entire team, I first and foremost want to apologize to the players and staff at New Zealand Football and to the players on Team Canada. This does not represent the values that our team stands for. I am ultimately responsible for conduct in our program. According to emphasize our team's commitment to integrity, I have decided to voluntarily withdraw from coaching the match on Thursday. In the spirit of accountability, I do this with the interest of both teams in mind, and to ensure everyone feels that the sportsmanship of the game is upheld. That's some interesting going on there. Interesting going on there. Diaby, he's able to complete his move, age 25. After moving to Aston Villa this past year, he leaves and joins Al Ittihad for reportedly 51.9 million euros. No. He joined Aston Villa from Bayer Leverkusen for 51.9 euros. He made 54 appearances for Aston Villa and scored 10 goals and was helped them finish into the Champions League. But he will be gone. And he will be going to Al Ittihad, which is wow, that's crazy to me. Age 25. He didn't have, down the stretch, didn't get to play as much as he was playing earlier. But it's, it's expected. The fee for him going to the Saudi Pro League club, Al Ittihad, was around 50 million euros. So similar to what it cost Aston Villa to get him in the first place. So no loss there. But still, in the fact that, Diaby didn't get as much minutes going down the stretch, kind of was replaced by Leon Bailey. But this was a player that could have eased his way in and continued to improve playing in the Premier League. It always takes you like a year or two. So really surprising that 25 years old, in the prime of his career, he's going to Saudi. But at the end of the day, the money talks. The money does talk. And he will be joining the likes of Benzema, Kante, Fabinho. In this team is coached by Laurent Blanc, a fellow countryman. They finished 5th place last season, so they want to continue on to impress. So, United, they're stepping up their search for a new fullback, with Tyrell Malacia set to have a longer stretch of being injured because of his knee injury. They thought that he would be able to return to training this summer, but he wasn't involved in the U.S. squad that's traveled to LA, and he's going to continue his recovery at Carrington. A statement from the club said Tyrell Malacia is absent from the squad as he continues his rehabilitation from injury under the guidance of medical staff at Carrington. There's also a shortage of left backs that occurred last season with Luke Shaw's injury issues. And that forced them to go sign Sergio Reguilon on a loan, and he had to use Victor Lindelof and Amrabat as options at left back. And yeah, they're now United only have with Shaw missing the tour because of England at the Euro 2024. You're looking at United right now on the US tour only have 17-year-old Harry Amos and 19-year-old Sam Murray as the only left backs that are available for them in the summer tour, with with Malacia also being out. So they're gonna look for left back options, and really they need they need about 3 fullbacks into the club, 2 left back or 2 right backs and a left back, or vice versa. They need maybe you could argue they need 4 fullbacks at the football club. They they need to revamp that position. They have injury prone players at that position, or they have players that are just not to the quality at that position. So thank you guys though for tuning in to the GSMC Soccer Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. So thank you guys, and once again, have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my